don't journal. I don't do, diaries or any sort of other way of keeping track of my thoughts and feelings. But maybe this is a good way. Maybe this is my outlet. So my sort of subconscious outlet for sharing my feelings with the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside quarantine editions of the episode. Joining us today, we have Bob, also known as Oshawa Beer Guy on Instagram.
Hi there, everyone. Great to be here. Really looking forward to this conversation.
Awesome. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to speak with us. We always appreciate anybody who's more than willing to take their time to speak with us, especially about our love of craft beer and all that can be involved within the world of craft and obviously social media and such. But as we do on most shows, except for when people do Dry January or whatever, we're going to share a virtual beer. Let my viewers know what you're drinking.
I am drinking Dark Prince, a black IPA by Manantler Brewery in Bowmanville.
That's an awesome design.
Yeah.
So I have another city with the O, starting out of the province of Ontario. From Ottawa, we have Brew Revolution. Talking about a revolution, it is a vanilla Earl Grey black IPA.
Interesting. We both have black IPAs on the go.
Yeah, that's perfect. And as we do a virtual toast. So a toast.
Cheers.
Nah, it doesn't work. It's too heavy. Ooh. Oh, that's a nice like vanilla tea. That's very tasty.
Is that your first time with that one?
Yeah. So just before, the cases really started climbing again, I did a day trip to Ottawa to pick up I'm starting to get into costlier scotches, which isn't a good thing. But there was a bottle in Ottawa only that I could get at the LCBO there. It's called Bunnahabhain, 12-year-old from Islay, $90 a bottle. Unavailable in Quebec where I live. So day trip to Ottawa. Go to Brew Revolution, enjoy a fantastic meal on a patio, nice and open, no worries about COVID coming around me. And I picked up some beer, and I got to say, Brew Revolution, they're a solid brewery out in Ottawa. So if you're ever there, check them out.
Excellent. It almost sounds like a dream, the idea of sitting on a patio again, having a nice meal and having a flight. It's really, really weird. And I'm really looking forward to those days coming back. But speaking of Ottawa, my daughter just got accepted into Teachers College at University of Ottawa. So it's like, this is going to be good because of all the craft beer that's out there. I mean, and of course your education too.
Yeah. But beer's very.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, honey, I'm coming to visit you. And here's all these breweries you can go visit at the same time.
That's right. Yeah, that'll probably happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one here is, it's a favorite of mine, Dark Prince by Manantler. And Manantler is kind of special to me. It was my first craft brewery out here in Durham. And it really got me into the idea of craft beer. And the whole thing was really quite interesting. When I found out there was a brewery, and this was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, a brewery in Durham, like 20 minutes from my house, not even 20 minutes from my house. It was like, I have to check this out. And then I'm driving, I'm looking forward, and it's like, kind of like the older part of Bowmanville. Like Bowmanville, like most of Durham's really boomed. So there's lots of development and new housing and everything. But this is in the core, in the old part, in a sort of industrial area, which I really kind of like. And I cross these train tracks and go behind the industrial complex. And it looks like this is more of a place to do a drug deal. And there's like woods behind, and it's like, where am I? And then it's like this metal door and down these concrete steps. And I end up in this place that just seemed kind of magical at that moment. So Manantler's always been really special to me, for sure.
That's awesome. So that's kind of where your craft beer journey began, would you say? Well,
it's kind of interesting because I was thinking about it, and it really goes back like maybe decades, but there was a big drought in between because I had some Maritimer friends. They were from Cape Breton, and my mom's family's from Cape Breton too. So, nothing against them. I love the Maritimers for sure. But these guys were kind of cheap. So they found out about Upper Canada Brewery, and this was in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. And I was just a kid, like maybe 20 years old, right? And they said, well, we can go in there, and they give us free beer. So it was these samples, right? And that was new to me, and they loved it. And I think they were just there for the free beer. But I realized, oh my God, every beer tastes different. these beers are really, really good. So forget about all that stuff that, you buy at the beer store that I've been drinking since a teenager, right?
Yeah.
It's like, this is actually good, right? And I love the variety about it. So I went back a few times, even without the Maritimers. And then I started buying Upper Canada, and they faded out. I think they were picked up by one of the big guys. And then I kind of, you start having a family and money gets tight and everything. And I sort of dabbled here and there, but then I think Manantler came around and it got me back into it. Yeah, years later.
Yeah, it's crazy. Everybody I've spoken with, their craft beer journey is just like, sitting around with the guys drinking 40s or, doing beer bongs outside my college dorm, things like that. And it's like, oh, let's try this beer. It says blonde raspberry. Oh, what's this going to be about? And you're just like, beer can have flavor?
Right.
It's that nucleus exploding in your brain.
That's right.
Like, here it is. Here's what beer can be. And I mean, joining the craft beer scene right now, especially in Canada and most of the upper US and most of the West Coast, it's like just another brewery. Mm-hmm. I mean, in your region alone, you're not far from Third Moon. They opened during the pandemic. Another couple of, breweries are opening like during the pandemic. Here in Montreal, we've had 2 open. It's like
2 new ones.
You can't stop. It's fantastic. So
yeah. It is interesting. It really is. I do think, is there a saturation point? Is there a point where they will no longer be viable or able to compete? And I can't really see that happening. I only know of one out in Peterborough that closed. And the more I talk to people, they say it was really just, it was sort of a half-hearted effort to get going. But I love the fact that there's new ones popping up all the time. There's a new one on the horizon in Oshawa too, which I'm really excited about. Really looking forward to it. That's New Ritual.
Okay, cool.
New Ritual. So looking forward to that one too. I've talked to them a couple times. Yeah, but just getting excited about it.
Yeah. I was there at the Ottawa Craft Beer Festival last year. Last year. And it's like, there's a Durham region section there. So I could just see how that's growing in your area, which is awesome to see. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We've got 10 and potentially another one. Well, I told you about New Ritual, and I think there's another one thinking about opening up this way too.
That's fantastic.
So, great. Yeah. It's great living like 20, 25 minutes away from 10 breweries, and they're all quality breweries. Yeah,
that's nice. Fantastic. So the username Oshawa Beer Guy, why'd you keep it? I mean, it's nice and simple. It's direct. Obviously, you're from Oshawa. You're a beer guy. Why not the complicated, or why not like Bob Drinks Craft or anything like that?
Yeah, it is kind of funny. I have wondered about that origin. I think it's just kind of pragmatism that brought that forward. I started actually on Twitter, and I thought this is a good way just to sort of, highlight what I'm doing. And then I tried Facebook, but nothing's like Instagram where it's like instant, take a picture and then you can instantly post it. But the name, I think that's just kind of who I am, kind of keep it simple and direct. I thought maybe I should have had the word craft in there somewhere, but I think it's fine. So far, it's been fine. Yeah.
When it comes to the Instagram, like I mentioned pre-show, I love the fact that you take a picture, you describe the beer, and then you kind of add either like a life event or something's going on right now. What brought that inspiration for you for your Instagram to do that, to like let people know this is going on in my life and here's the perfect beer associated with it right now?
Yeah, interesting. And thanks for saying so, because I do wonder sometimes like how often people are taken to sort of the composition. And I have to say, I take pride in what I write. But I don't know, it just sort of evolved. And I think it's just the way my mind works, always trying to make connections. And I think I've always been a good writer, if I do say so myself, just kind of the idea of getting across certain ideas with words. And I think it makes it a little bit interesting. I don't know. I feel like I don't journal. I don't do, diaries or any sort of other way of keeping track of my thoughts and feelings, but maybe this is a good way. Maybe this is my outlet. So my sort of subconscious outlet for sharing my feelings with the world. But I enjoy doing it. I think, every once in a while I get one that kind of impresses myself.
It's great. It's not so long that it's not like a blog where, sometimes I love sitting down and reading a good beer blog, but sometimes just an Instagram post like you have, where it's just like, here's the beer, here's how it tastes, here's what I think of it, and here's like a great event associated with it. It's nice, it's compact, it's literally maybe a minute out of my day to just get that done. Hit like, obviously, you hit that like because that helps bring your social media forward. So
yeah, for sure.
It's very important. And I'll honestly not like something if I don't like it. I won't just randomly click like a lot of people will do. I do try and share the love, but at the same time, some guy posts like, here's my Budweiser and I'm outside unmasked. I'm like, no, you're not my friend. So
yeah. Oh, I agree with you. And I've realized that over time. And I think the angle I take of that is, someone else is going to scroll through that someday and say, oh, Oshawa Beer Guide liked this picture of Coors Light or something like that. Then you start kind of maybe lowering your own value, if that's a thing. If that's a thing. So yeah, I think it's important to think about what you're clicking on, for sure. I mean, your name goes on it, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's it's yeah, and you're obviously very passionate. You do have like over 1,000 posts, which is quite impressive considering you just started it a little over a year ago. From what you're saying, yeah. So yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot of things you put forward. And you said you're recently retired as well, so gotta get that outlet. Got to do something else besides just sitting at home during a pandemic. Let's do some other stuff too. So
it was interesting about a year ago at this time, because I was really missing teaching. I was missing the community connection, right? And I felt that, there's so much I could be offering that I wasn't able to, because, I wasn't in that classroom in the time when maybe the kids needed someone the most. And, we've talked this evening, but you might start, kind of figuring out that I'm a person that maybe gives as much as he can, because that was the kind of teacher I was, right? Just make sure that, we're getting across the academic goals, but also doing as much as I can to make the kids feel good about themselves, right? And that's the way I looked at it. So it was a tough time. And I would start drinking a little bit earlier during that early part of the pandemic. It'd be like, okay, coffee's done, 1:30, maybe open up a beer.
Well, I mean, I believe it's the show Dumb People Town. It's 6 p.m. is the 3 a.m. of day drinking. So it's quite the great quote. I personally am probably going to pick up a T-shirt from it, because I think it's hilarious if you're at a beer festival, people are like, "Oh, we know what time you're going to bed tonight." Whenever beer festivals return, so yeah. It's awesome. And obviously you sounded very passionate as a teacher yourself, and education is more so important than ever right now. So, just taking a backseat to it, letting yourself obviously decompress from the many years that you were in the school system. It's very important that you take your time, and you are, like I said, you get that creative outlet and you keep your Instagram going. And that's very obviously high on your list, which is great. So,
yeah. Well, great. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, perfect.
Thanks.
Have you collabed, or do you see yourself collabing with your Instagram with a brewery at some point, if you can?
Yeah, it's possible for sure. And it's really interesting. There's a couple of breweries that do send me stuff, and I always feel a little bit different when I post those. Kind of like it's not, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it. It just feels a little different when I post those ones, kind of like I have to post them rather than I want to. So I'm really not sure how to go with that. But I'm still open for sure. I do work with Community Craft Beer Box, and that's an organization. This woman is like a superwoman. She's probably mid-30s, and she organized a few in-person festivals, including the New Market Craft Beer Festival. And I was there, which was kind of interesting, but I didn't know her at the time. That was maybe November of 2019. And then she contacted me early into COVID and asked me to be on the committee. I'm happy to do it. And, I've given some great insight, and we're doing Zoom meetings right now. We're doing Zoom tasting, but, and that's fine. It's good. I love the input, and I love just the venue of talking to people and trying beers, but really looking forward to seeing where that goes when it becomes in person again. I'd love to work on a committee like that, like an in-person one. I think I've got a lot of skills when it comes to sort of organizing and planning. Also, maybe it's from teaching, but just how to adapt really quickly if there's a problem or a situation, or even if it isn't a problem or a situation, but seeing something that can be done better and then quickly adjusting to that. So that's maybe a collab, or at least close to it. But I'm sure it's a topic that we can talk about, but I do fundraising.
Yes.
And I call it Cans for Change.
Yeah, but you like just beat me to it. So.
Oh, okay. I knew you would. I knew you would talk to me about it. But I did want to say that there's been a number of breweries that have been really, really helpful and supportive when it comes to that.
And mention what is Cans for Change, like what does that initiative entail for those who are watching who could either help or be involved and help you out somehow? What is Cans for Change and how is it helping your community?
Oh, well, yeah, it's a long and maybe interesting story, but I'll try to make it a shorter and interesting story at the same time.
All good. Let it all out if you have to. So.
Okay. Well, I'll say it started with George Floyd. It started with his murder last year. And it was at the time when things were going, I don't want to say not great. It just, they weren't really progressing much for me. And I'm not saying that I just jumped on a bandwagon, but I think what I saw was an opportunity to build community and to be part of something again, not even really knowing where it would go. And it's funny because you and I had talked about the SO Beer Boys, and they had a big part to play in the story too, because I saw their post early in the pandemic about their work at collecting cans for a children's hospital in Hamilton. And that's actually where I grew up, in Hamilton. So I thought, this is a great idea. So I'm going to start saving my cans. So I had bags for them. And I talked to them a couple of times about, how am I going to get my bags to you? It's a pandemic. And at that time, the stay-at-home order seemed to be way stricter than it was right now. So I was pretty serious about not going anywhere. And then, of course, George Floyd. And then for whatever reason, like it rocked most of the world. It really had more of an impact. And I don't really know why. Maybe because of the brutal situation of it. Maybe the video was so clear and so, one-sided in its, horror. Mm-hmm. But it really did affect me. And then Blackout Tuesday came soon after that. And I posted, the black screen on Instagram. And then I really, really took the time to read everybody's posts. And I found, I started writing back to pretty much everyone. And remember, I'm still really new at Instagram at this time. So I was still not even really sure my direction at the time, but I was reading everyone's posts, and then I started writing back, and I was saying, it's not enough to say we're not racist. We need to actually be part of the solution. We have a role to play. We each have a role to play in finding a solution. And I started thinking about that. And then it was like, okay, I've written this 20 times. What will my role be? And then I realized, I'm saving these cans. Maybe I can do something with it. I messaged the SO Beer Boys, and they were like, 100%, we're 100% behind you if you want to divert your cans to something else. So then I started looking for an organization out my way. And I was looking at a couple, and then I asked my kids. I have 3 kids that are, I guess they're adults now. And my son had just come back from a Black Lives Matter rally in Oshawa. And he said, yeah, I know of one called the Durham Black Students Network. And I was like, okay, I looked into it. I started messaging them, and then we met. It was kind of funny. We met in a parking lot at a local Tim Hortons. And it was really kind of awkward. Like, you guys, they're looking at me like, he wants to help us. And I'm looking at them like, do I want to help them? It was kind of weird. It was like, but then it went off great. They're great, great people. And they work with youth in Durham region here, ages 14 to 29. And they try to give them, I guess the short answer is they try to give them opportunities for entrepreneurialism, which is excellent. And I think it's really just breaking the cycle. And that's the way I see it. Trying to get kids to see themselves as part of something that they can get their feet on the ground and really sort of start changing things, mm-hmm. right? So it was interesting. It started out with just my own cans and then Instagram followers. And then I got businesses involved, and some breweries have been excellent. The Second Wedge up in Uxbridge was the first to jump jump on board, and they were great. Town Brewery in Whitby, they've done a few things for me, which is excellent. Actually, Second Wedge continues to drop off cans. Old Flame in Port Perry has been terrific. Falcon in Ajax has been great. And I've been talking to a couple of others now out in Bowmanville, Chronicle, which is a really interesting and cool brewery too. And Manantler that I'm drinking tonight. And then some craft beer restaurants as well. Butchie's in Whitby, and Berry Hill in Oshawa, and Port Social in Port Perry, Port Social, Marwin's Global Bistro. That guy's been incredible. And if anyone's listening, support these guys 100%. Any of those people I mentioned, because they've been just awesome. And their community mindedness is really, really, exemplary, and really a role model to anyone who's thinking about, what I can do to help.
Yeah, no. And it's super important right now to show who you're supporting. The craft beer community, the Instagram community that we're a part of are just so supportive of each other. And that's what's really, really important. And, like we mentioned pre-show, we've both met Ed. It's like, hey, Ed, how can we do something to help? Or I have friends of color I've known since I was 5-6 years old. It's like, what can I do to help initiate some change? Even if it's just something as simple as ordering from like a local Haitian restaurant, just let me know. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, really interesting evolution of my own thinking along the way as well. Like, it's been an evolution of my own thinking when it comes to, understanding, white privilege and really the challenges that people of color face. But in the charity work that I'm doing, it's been an evolution as well, realizing that I thought it was me who was really instigating, the sort of change. But I found out maybe about a few months in anyway, I can't really figure out when, because I'm just looking back right now, that it's building community in a different way. Like, everyone who contributes, like I was thanking them, and I thought, okay, all you're doing is giving me your can. So I was really thanking them, but they end up really thanking me for what I'm doing. So I believe that, that evolution, getting back to that evolution of thinking, I'm realizing that I'm giving people a way to make themselves feel like they're being part of the solution, which is something that I never counted on really from the start. But I think that's at least as equally as important as anything else that I'm doing as well, because we have to continue to build community. I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's really, when you think about being that third link in the necessary 3-part chain. It's
yeah, I like that.
Like they these restaurants, unfortunately, because they're so busy, that they unfortunately don't have the time to dedicate to this. So they need, in a sense, a project manager like yourself doing this to be the middleman to, hey, can you help? Awesome. Let me send it on. And then just you getting these contacts as well, finding out that I'm supporting these places and then they're supporting me for the cause I'm trying to support. That's just in a weird way, it is a trickle down system that's very necessary, where you're going into silos. Right. So,
yeah. And I think that, what you said there, I hadn't thought of it that way before, but the idea of the trickle down really is important in this case, right? Because, if we're doing nothing, then the trickle stops, mm-hmm. and then there is no community building. And, the idea is to spread it as quickly and at least as far as we can.
So awesome. And I'll definitely, at the end of the show, I'll be grabbing all those links from you. We'll post them in the show notes. So anybody who does want to donate, it'll be in the show notes for those to be passed along. I do what I can, obviously donate when I can, or even just at the end of the year. I know it's like, oh, I get tax write-offs, but still let's send out some money, because it looks, why keep it all to myself? Why be selfish? Like, I give away a certain part of my salary every year because I believe in certain causes. This year, before everything happened, I gave away to a BLM cause. I honestly can't remember which one it was. It was a very small one. But then, I have friends and coworkers who have dealt with lymphoma and cancers and stuff. So it's like, donate to those as well. Heart disease, things that are very prevalent in communities that are very important to me. So, if you got the extra money, if you got the extra time, please donate it. And that's all we can ask. So
that's right. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Thanks.
Awesome. So for people who are visiting the Oshawa area who are new, let's say myself, I head out, tell me like 5 places, Carp, go. These 5, no matter what.
Narrowing it down to 5. I would say town for sure. Go down to town in South Whitby. Whitby's pretty good. Well, Whitby's really good. I would say I have to say All or Nothing Brew House in Oshawa. That's where I am too, and they do a great job. I would try Little Beasts as well. Little Beasts in Whitby as well, just close, just on the other side of the Oshawa border. Little Beasts are super creative. They make really quality beers, and it's kind of a side note, but it's an important one. They have great bottle art. They have great, like, intriguing bottle. A lot of it's inspired by Nordic mythology. Yeah. It really is quite cool. And I would say 5 Paddles as well in Whitby. 5 Paddles. It was funny because maybe 5 Paddles is near the beginning of my beer adventures too, because I went there early on too, sometime in my early adventures into craft beer. And I was talking to the guy there about beer, and he said, "I just want to try every beer in the world." And I thought, okay, that's and at that time I was still pretty naive. It's like, can that be done? But it's like, that's kind of the goal. And even some of the great beer that I have, it's rare that I'll go back to the same one more than twice or 3 times, because there's just so much great beer out there. But I would say, is that 4?
Yeah, that's 4.
Yeah,
Little Beast.
I would say
5 Paddles. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, 5 Paddles, a town.
Yeah.
All or Nothing.
Yeah, so that's 4.
And yeah, it's tough. Because the Bowmanville ones, there's 2 in Bowmanville. They're so close, and they're going to be close together. But I'll say Chronicle and Manantler.
Yeah. Okay. I know. As like a former Dungeons and Dragons nerd in high school and stuff, the Chronicle concept, I'm just like, oh my God, I have to go to this place. So
you know them, Chronicle.
Or I know of them. Unfortunately, I've never had a chance to get their beer because last time we went down that way, myself and Phil, my videographer, is like Toronto, head out to Milton for Third Moon. So it's like you're mentioning the bottle art. Third Moon's bottle art with Little Beast bottle art would be quite the collab now that I'm thinking about it. But it's like we headed to Milton, and then everything in like the GTA core. So like I wanted to go to Bowmanville, but it just completely slipped my mind once I was in the GTA Mississauga area. So
just makes for another trip sometime whenever you can. Yeah. And Chronicle, it is cool because you said something about Dungeons and Dragons Geek. That's kind of what they base themselves on. I mean, even their symbol is a 20-sided die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I went in the first time. I was like, wait a second, is that name from Dungeons and Dragons or from Stranger Things? And the guy looks at me and he says, both.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, even simple things like the concept of Bandit Brewery in Toronto. It's like, yeah, it's just all raccoons. Oh, sweet. So I love it. And, just the creativity. And then there's, people like myself getting out and speaking with people like you with your Instagram and your obviously your passion behind it with your pictures, your descriptions, being passionate about donating to charities while involving beer. It's all a great, like bringing it all together, amalgamation of everything that we are as a craft beer community. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. 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 It really is pretty cool. And, I guess everyone gets a little bit down from time to time. And like I said, I was feeling a little down early on about a year ago, but the community really does help. And then when I read other people's posts, like people that I would, maybe not even people that I would just consider friends or consider friends, but even people that, if they're taking the time to write this, I feel like if I'm thinking that they're feeling down from what they're saying or something is sort of insinuating that, I'm going to take the time to write to them and, try to see if there's anything I can do to help them. Even just kind of reaching out to anybody might just be something that'll turn the table in someone's down mood. Yeah. So you're right. The craft beer community is pretty special.
Yeah, it's great, and I love being part of it. And yeah, it sucks not going to the breweries, but I mean, especially in Quebec, the breweries are very shut down. There's zero option to do anything. So it's nice that I have family in Ontario. So when I visit them, there's, I have family in the Alexandria area. So that's literally right across the Quebec-Ontario border. And then it's like, oh, there's a half hour away. There's a brewery with a patio that's open. I'm going to go have a meal, drink a beer, because I can't do that where I live. So,
yeah. Is there takeout still?
We don't have takeout. Takeout, yes, not delivery like you have in Ontario, which makes me very jealous of Ontario.
Yeah, it did get me through the early part of the pandemic, just stocking up again. Yeah. What about, I'm sorry, I was going to ask you were talking about Montreal breweries, and I do know Giulietti, and that was one of my goals until things got closed down. One of my goals was to get out to Giulietti. And I kind of have an interesting, maybe it's an interesting story. I don't know, because I was we were in Toronto as a family, and we found out about a place called Bar Hop. And I went in there and I looked, and it was like, well, this one sounds interesting. It was a vanilla stout. I think it was a vanilla stout called Aphrodite.
Ah, yes. Okay.
And that was just like, boom, this is so good. And that was my goal, to get out to Montreal and try it again.
Yeah. So in Montreal, it's just their craft beer bar. Their actual brewery is in very northern Quebec.
Oh,
yeah. It's a bit of travel, but it's still their craft beer bar. It's like their craft beer bar, and there is a small little brewery in there, but it's very cool. And there's a lot of breweries around there now too. It's not just there. You could go to Reservoir, which is a hop, skip it. To me, it's a hop, skip it, a jump away. It's like a 20-minute walk. But all that area it's called the Plateau. So all that area, there's breweries. You could go to there. You can take a little walk to, it's called Beauregard. They just do dark beers. That's all they do. They focus on dark beers. The flight is free, and you can buy on the way out.
That's
what
nice.
else? Yeah. What else is there around there? Reservoir. It's been too long since I've done it. But yeah, generally it's just your best bet if you are visiting Montreal and you are staying at a downtown hotel, let's say, or you have an Airbnb in, let's say, Point St. Charles, Verdun, which is LaSalle, which are very close to downtown Montreal. You start at the top of the downtown area in the Plateau, and you work your way down. And that's the best way to go. If, like I said, if you're ever out here, I'll send you a list of some of the best places to hit. Yeah. So for sure. Okay. Beercation.
Yeah.
So when it's obviously safe to travel again, when most of us take the vaccine, if you don't take the vaccine, that's your choice. I disagree with you. But when hopefully most of us have taken the vaccine and it's safe to travel again, there's a whole lot less COVID. Couple of beercations you want to go on. And I've been adding this. Money, very much an important factor. So you can't, take a cruise to New Zealand and like whatever. So money, where money's a factor, and then where money's not a factor.
Right. First, I mean, I'm going to be first in line when they offer me that vaccine, just so I can start, see my family again too. But this is what I wanted to do. What I wanted, when I retired, I wanted to just drive around Ontario and then go further and check out these craft breweries. So the big question I have right now is east or west, and I think it's going to be east. So when we're open again, I think I'm going to head east. I do want to get through Montreal. And then the Maritimes, I can't wait to get to Halifax. I can't wait to get to Halifax and see what's going on there. And then, stops along the way for sure. But Newfoundland is a real sort of goal for me. It's the only province I haven't been to, and I've been to one territory. So there's still 2 territories in Newfoundland I have to get to. But I really want to get out to Newfoundland. I think just everything about their culture, everything about their lifestyle, I just want to be part of it for a little bit. I don't know what time of year. People say different times of the year are good. I knew Newfoundlanders said you have to go twice, once in the summer and once in the winter. So maybe that'll be the goal, to go out there twice. So I think that'll be a realistic one, and just stop along the way, maybe take a couple of months and just go out east, and then just, enjoy that culture for a while. And the fantasy one, you mentioned it, and I was talking about it earlier, New Zealand, because I have this theory that when there's a big country and then a little country next to it, it sort of follows the same pattern as Canada and the US. That the US dominates the culture, but Canada sort of is boldly independent. And I realized that when early in my marriage, we traveled to Europe, and we went from Germany to Austria, and I didn't speak any German. And it was like, I feel like I'm home now in Austria. So I started piecing that together. And I think Scotland and England are the same. And I think New Zealand and Australia is the same. So I think I'd like to go to New Zealand for a number of different situations, or a number of different reasons. But they tell me that the craft beer is great up there too. So I think that'd be the fantasy one.
Yeah. I got nothing else. This has been a fantastic talk. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule today to speak with me. Let my viewers know where they can find you.
Absolutely. Oshawa Beer Guy on Instagram. And also cans dot for change on Instagram as well. I do have a website for Cans for Change. That is BOBGIUL.wixsite WIXSITE.com/cans for change. And thanks for this opportunity. It's great talking to people. The number of people we talk to is kind of narrowed significantly in the last 14 months. So it's great to talk to someone new, especially someone who's got the same sort of passions as I have. But thanks especially for giving me, an outlet to talk about Cans for Change. And hopefully that's exactly what it is, right? We have an opportunity to make something good out of the world, at least a small part of it. So really appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks so much, Carp.
Yeah. Every little bit helps the way I see it, even if it's, sure. I only have a flat of empties, just bring them. It's $2.40 that we didn't have before. So
yeah, absolutely. And every time I post, more and more people notice it, and that gives it an opportunity to grow even further.
Perfect. So all that's going to be in the show notes. As for us, it's allbeerinside.com is the website, at allbeerinside on all social media. If you want to follow me, it's at Killer Carpe Diem on all social media. Those are both with K's, not C's. As well, I'm hoping to get the t-shirts up and running soon, so you feel free to buy yourself an All Beer Inside shirt when they're available. And I say at the end of all episodes, drink craft, not crap.